You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And it is another year where we have to talk about Donald Trump. And honestly, it's another year where all hell has broken loose. And, when I was thinking about this episode and what I was going to talk about, each week is different. If you listen to last week's episode, all hell broke loose at the nation's capital. And now I can say that Donald Trump has broken a record that is actually a record that he will go down in history for. It's something that Obama cannot claim. It's something that, even Bill Clinton can't even claim. Donald Trump, the 45th president of the United States, is the first president in United States history to be impeached twice. Where the impeachment resides, okay? Not where the money resides, because that's not where it's at, where the impeachment resides, okay? And it's important that we note that, because this is a big deal. I mean, this is crazy. And this is also the closest bipartisan, okay? Republicans, not all of them, right? This should have been, let me just say, this should have been more unanimous, all right? But we'll just say that the vote was 232 to 197. 10 Republicans joined Democrats to impeach Trump, the most ever from a president of their own party. So more Republicans chose to impeach Trump than any. And this is definitely a difference from what happened, when he was impeached in 2019. So much has changed. But people are going in. People have been going in. A Senate trial is likely to begin, but after the inauguration. So, next Wednesday, Biden will become the 46th president of the United States. But unfortunately, we have to deal with the fact that a Senate trial is not going to happen until after inauguration. And you can thank who? Dun, 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 dun. We talked about him last week. Senator Mitch McConnell, the majority leader, the departing majority leader, the former majority leader, soon to be minority leader. He will not begin Mr. Trump's impeachment trial until he will not start it before Biden becomes president. So it's not happening. But people are asking, why? Why do we need to have an impeachment? Let me tell you all something. I don't care if it's on CPT. And if you don't know what CPT is, look it up. But Black people, help your friends. I don't care. What you have to understand is that the impeachment, I'm all for impeachment for several reasons. And there's some people who don't support impeachment. Assholes like, Senator Tim Scott. Yes, the only Black senator that's a Republican. That's a Republican. The Democratic Party has 2 Black senators. And, one of them got elected last week, thanks to the work of Stacey Abrams and many others in Georgia. And then, of course, there's Cory Booker. So there's 2 Black senators, which is interesting because for the, there's been 2 for the past 4 years. So Kamala Harris is now moving on up to become the vice president. But now there is, Reverend Warlock, who's going to be in that new position that's going to be taken in, Raphael. So he's going to be taking into that seat alongside Cory Booker. But at first it was Cory Booker and Kamala. Now Kamala's going to be the new VP. And so much is going to be said about that. And yes, we will talk about that Vogue cover. We will talk about it. But anywho, I'm just, we've been down this road before. This is the second time Trump has been impeached. This might be the strongest time he's been impeached because clearly, he has pretty much incited a violent, insurrection against the United States government. And, this is it. This is it. But what we noticed was that there were still Republicans, basically trying to justify his bullshit. I mean, there are people still trying to do this. And I can't. There's been some interesting conversations. Representative Maxine Waters, said that he is capable of starting a civil war. There was also, the Republican who actually said that some say the riots were caused by Antifa. There was absolutely no evidence of that. And conservatives should be the first to say so. And that's what Representative Kevin McCarthy said, who is the House Minority Leader. So, I mean, some people were using some common sense, but that common sense was not too common. Again, only 10 Republicans supported the impeachment, but 197 of them continue to support the notion that he shouldn't be. And there's been crazy rationale. Like I said, Tim Scott, who is this Republican senator, has been saying that, actually impeaching Trump is going to make matters worse. Actually, not impeaching Trump will actually make matters worse. I think that we've realized that giving Trump a break actually makes things 10 times harder. For, the country, the rest of us. I don't really know what planet we can exist in, but a lot of my friends are also saying, doesn't impeachment matter at this point? Y'all, Pence is not going to invoke the 25th Amendment. He's already decided not to do that. So, and also, Trump has, there's been reports that Trump referred to him as a pussy or a patriot. And they're not good friends right now. They're not homies anymore. I don't even think Pence and Trump were ever homies. I think that Pence just was like, look, I need to be the Republican guy in the room. And people said that he basically sabotaged his political career by going against Trump. But I don't think Pence would have had a political career. I mean, Pence is not Al Gore, right? Where there's a lot to be said about Al Gore, but Pence is not Al Gore, where he had the kind of popularity that he could actually make a run, right? Or he's not like Biden, who actually is a vice president who made a run and won. I mean, unfortunately, George Herbert Walker Bush was the vice president of Reagan. And I guess Reagan's popularity amongst conservatives gave him a seat, but he was such a boring president, and he was a one-term president. And we saw what happened there. But, historically, there is an iffy relationship between VPs. But so far, I mean, Democrats have ran their VPs for president. Obama did it with Biden. Biden's not going to be the next president. Clinton did the same with Al Gore. We hadn't seen one since. We had, before Clinton, it was Jimmy Carter, which was a one-term president. And then we take it all the way back and we get JFK. Or not even before or after JFK. But it's like, it hasn't been that many examples in recent memory. I mean, Reagan had it with George. But look, George W. Bush did not, put Dick Cheney up for it. And for good reason. I mean, I don't think anybody would want Dick Cheney to be the president of the United States. I don't see it at all. I mean, all of you all should see the movie Vice, which I struggle with Vice because Vice is satirical and it is funny. But then when you actually know what they're being funny about, then you're like, wait a minute. The war in Iraq, 9/11. I mean, they have Tyler Perry playing Colin Powell, who, by the way, wanted to remind us that he is officially no longer identifying as a Republican. Ooh, this is a big deal. This is a breakthrough, y'all. Like, Colin Powell, who I forgot actually was like in the conversation. When was the last time we actually asked for Colin Powell to give us an opinion about something? I don't even know why that was breaking news. Like, I don't even understand why Colin Powell was even in who called, listen, this is what happens when you have newsrooms that are not diverse. Who was asking for Colin Powell? I mean, you would have been better off calling, who out? Stacey Dash would have been, whose idea was it to call Colin Powell and ask him how he identified in 2021? I don't know. And also, to be very clear, to be fair, if such a thing matters, Colin Powell has been critical of Trump before. He wasn't a fan of Trump in previous elections. So this announcement at the, I guess, 11th hour wasn't really that necessary or important. But some people thought it was. I guess some people thought it needed to be said. So, thank you, Colin Powell, for telling us something that we didn't really need to know. But okay. So we've seen a lot of interesting turn of events. I mean, you have, this relationship between Pence and Trump not working out, which, again, we knew. Mitch McConnell is still Mitch McConnell, even though it looked like Mitch McConnell was folding. I was reading how that he was, kind of in favor of this conversation around impeachment, but then turned around and was like, yeah, I support y'all doing the impeachment, but I'm not about to speed up everything to get this man out. So, Mitch McConnell gives and takes. But as you all know in the last episode, this is who Mitch McConnell has been. He is always going to be a loyalist through and through. He did kind of fold a little bit, though. I mean, even the hint or the suggestion from his people that he was somewhat in favor of the impeachment speaks volumes. I mean, at this point, we can all kind of basically confirm that Trump will get impeached because now the Democrats have the Senate, and with Kamala Harris being the vice president and technically the president of the Senate, with the Democrats having the majority, I think Trump's going to fall. I think Trump's going to get impeached, but it will be after Biden becomes president. But why does this matter? This matters because of the fact that Trump will never be able to run for president again. Like, he can't just, run. Like, he won't even be, it won't be permissible, basically. That's what the Constitution says. This impeachment, I mean, in many ways, he could go to jail. And this is a crime. Like, he will no longer be in office. He will no longer be held with the protections of the presidency. Because people never really listen to, councilman, not councilman, but general counsel from Robert, Mueller. Like, Robert Mueller told us that in many ways, he wasn't saying that Trump was innocent, but that Trump basically, a sitting president, United States president, regardless of who, if they were Trump, Clinton, whomever, cannot be arrested. Like, you couldn't just roll up in there and say, you're under arrest, Trump. So Trump knew that. Trump's team knew that. And Trump did things because he could do that. And so impeachment was the only thing that could have happened, which is what the Democrats tried to do. But even that wasn't enough. And now, even with everything that's taken place in the past, week, Republicans are still stuck on stupid. So this conversation around unity, I think people need to understand it's bullshit. Like, unity cannot happen because they don't want to be held accountable. I mean, no one wants to be held accountable. Everybody wants unity, but nobody wants accountability. Unity without accountability is gaslighting, because you're basically trying to tell the people who were afflicted, who were marginalized, that what they're feeling isn't necessary enough to be held with the highest extent of truth, right? We can't punish these people. We can't do any of this. And some of the, the things I've heard from certain activists, and, I'm wrestling with my thoughts on this, but they're, telling other folks like, hey, you can't want these thugs, these traitors to go to jail while still saying abolish the police and yada, yada, yada. And listen, I get it. I get the absolutism of it all. But in some cases, and I'm not saying some cases in this way, but there has to be a moment where you have to be like, look, whatever it's going to take to get these motherfuckers out right now, let it be done. Because I can't, I mean, life is, listen, I want to abolish the police. I absolutely do. Like, for example, on the beam, this Goodwin man who is this black, officer who was at the Capitol, everyone's talking about, gassing up, calling him a hero. I personally am not about to gas this guy up. I get it. Some people want to, right? Because people, get a little nostalgic. But let's be very clear. Being a police officer in 2021 is basically choosing to be a part of an institution that is committed to the marginalization, the abuse, and the exploitation of Black and brown people in this country. The police, the institution itself, is a is a buffer and an agent of white supremacy. And there is nothing that anyone can tell me to change my mind on that. It is just the facts, the research, the history is there. Look at the history of American policing and how it, rose to prominence in this country, and it is rooted in white supremacy. You have to remember that, like, literally, less than 50 years ago, police officers were sicking dogs to bite Black people during the civil rights movement. Like, that's not that long ago. Like, that is my grandparents, great uncle's generation. They still remember that. They still grew up with that trauma. And so they grew up in a world where they saw the police be violent to them, to their parents, and they remember that, and they basically have to live in a society that is trying to tell them that those same very people now mean them well. Without any institutional changes, any radical changes other than simply saying the law done changed. But laws can change outward facing actions, but it can't change deep-seated hate. That hate is still there. We see it consistently. We're reminded on a daily basis of how violent the police is to civilians, and especially to Black and brown civilians. So it's hard for me to, see this Black man who is this officer and say he's a hero for blocking off these thugs and these, basically these terrorists who was coming into the Capitol, when we're seeing reports that show that there were some of those thugs and that crowd were actually police officers, and that some of them were encouraged to come based on the loosening of the gate by police officers, and that the person they were defending was a man, a dictator who was endorsed by police officers. The police union endorsed Donald Trump for president. They want his law and order policies. So it's really hard to not acknowledge, I guess, the next elephant in the room, or the blue and black elephant in the room, which is that police officers that are trying to now push off these same people were pushing off their very own people. And also the very people who were supporting a dictator that aligns themselves with him. And it's very clear why some members of the GOP did not vote to impeach Trump, because we're finding out that some of these legislators, these Republican legislators, were giving some of these terrorists tours of the Capitol building like the day before, calling it a renaissance, a re-renaissance, or connaissance, or whatever the hell it was, giving them a tour of the Capitol building. So that is why they knew where it was. You're seeing tweets from some legislators with interesting descriptions, like the Speaker of the House has left the building, or what is that? How are you doing that when you're supposed to be trying to fight for your life and make sure you're safe? Make sure that you don't contract COVID-19. How you got time tweeting out these particular details? So the roosters are beginning to hatch. One of the men who was, take back the steal, or whatever the hell it's called, stop the steal, he has been now captured, and his social media account has been deactivated. And so has other, social media outlets. They took Trump off of everything. Parler, which was the most disgusting app. Reddit is trash, but this Parler app, which is basically was a cesspool for conservatives that's been existing for a minute. Conservatives on there saying all kind of crazy shit. Only now do, Amazon, Apple, Google, and everyone say, you know what, we got to take this off. So basically it's off the internet now officially, which is good. Trump has been permanently banned and deactivated from Twitter, which is a miracle. Facebook has now put a suspension on him. A couple other places, YouTube is now suspending his video content. Trump is getting banned virtually. He has been neutered. Castrated. Like, they have taken the privileges away from him. And I wouldn't say things feel more peaceful, but I do like the fact that now journalists, or white journalists, because let me say something. Black journalists have been doing this work, has been being consistent, has been fighting the funk and kicking ass from day one. And it's something to be said that we recognize that there's been a lot of damn white folks in media and in politics that kept playing with Trump. Like, they play with Trump. They play with him. You know, I have friends who are Nigerian who love to say, "You think I'm your mate." And that term that their parents say to them, which I heard growing up, sometimes because I would go to their house and I would get in some trouble and they say, "You think I'm your mate." And that meant that you think that this is a joke. You think I'm a playpen. You think I'm one of your playmates, like this is that you could play with me. And these people thought that this was their mate, like this is a joke. And so I look at them and say, "You think I'm your mate?" You know, I look at them like, "What are you thinking? You think Trump is playing with you? Or you think this is a game? This is your friend?" They really think this is their friend. They're like, "Oh, you know, my homie Trump fucking up." No, your homie Trump is fucking the country up. All of this, both sides. And can we unpack and analyze this? No, you can't. How do you analyze bullshit without calling it bullshit? How many angles? Are you bored? You know, there's a part of me that wonders, right? CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all these other, you know, news cable outlets that run off of this 24-hour news cycle. I believe that news is not 24/7 as far as broadcast news. Because when I actually sit there and watch CNN, or, you know, I don't even give Fox News my attention. MSNBC, I watch a couple of things. I like to see my good fave, my good friend Aaron Haynes on there, you know, doing some political analysis and commentary. But to be honest, when I look at some of those programs, and mind you, full disclaimer, I've been on CNN, I have been on MSNBC, Fox wanted me to come on one time, said no. But I've been on some cable channels. I've been on BBC, a couple other ones, and I've talked the shits. HAN, you know, LN, LM, a couple of other shows, all the different, you know, cable outlets I've been on a couple of times before. So I come from a space where I can speak to this. One of the things that I've noticed is that in order to make those channels 24 hours, they really have to just consistently regurgitate the same news while breaking some news, mind you. But most of it is filled with a bunch of people being commentators. All of these commentators just like trying to analyze the shit. And then it becomes that in arguments. And then the arguments go viral. And then everybody tweet about it. Guilty. Go on CNN and it says, "Oh, this person laid it to them," like it's a wrestling match. And this is supposed to be our democracy. So it's a little frustrating because I'm wondering to myself, if we actually, you know, synthesize this and squeeze it down, right? How long would the 24-hour news cycle really be if you took all of that pulp out? And I like orange juice with pulp, but not too much pulp. Because then I'm like, I should just be fucking eating orange at this point. But like, it's too much. It's too much. And when I go on these channels, it's like some of these people are getting called on consistently. And I'm like, do you have anything new to say? Is there anything that you have to say that's fresh? Please tell the room. Please tell the rest of us regular folk. Is there anything substantial that you have to add to the conversation other than the fact that just rotating humans consistently saying the same shit? So what's your take on that, Don? Well, my take on it is that the president is a racist. Then the other guy, who is clearly the white conservative, "Well, how do you feel about what Don said?" Albert says, "Well, actually, I don't know if the president was a racist. It was highly offensive, but we should be careful about racism." And then Don comes in and says, "Well, as a black man, and this is what I believe." And I mean, they just go back and forth. And it sounds like a filibuster. It sounds like what we see with Congress. It's all of this pomp and circumstance. It's all of this grandstanding. And it's just has gotten to a point where we have seen this happen. I mean, it's been happening for years, but I am going to be 30 this year, and I'm fucking tired of it. I'm really tired. I'm really tired of it. Who cares? Who cares? There's a part of me that's like, who cares? There was a time where I dreamed to be one of those type of people that would come on air consistently, and weigh in on the topics of the day. And I'm sorry, but there's a part of me that does now have grown up a little bit and like, how stupid and annoying can it be to just consistently get on air and have to, you know, add a perspective to a conversation that is clearly curated to start shit. Now, not all of those conversations do that, but a lot of them are meant to start shit. And so you're arguing. I mean, the juicy ones are, right? And then other ones are just people just saying stuff that isn't actually filled with anything that's really a unique perspective. A lot of times they're just saying what other people are saying. It's like, well, damn it, what do you got to say? Like, it's annoying. I'm sitting here like, you're a political contributor. You're this, expert, but you're just telling me what the New York Times said. Look, we all can read the New York Times. What the fuck do you have to say? And half the time they don't have much to say because they haven't taken the time to think about it. Because you're asking people to speak on these very critical issues in a timely fashion, and that's hard. Like we're treating people like they're guinea pigs. Like, I love doing my podcast weekly because it gives me time to dissect the news, dissect what's happening, to then tell you all what I think in a fully fleshed manner. How am I supposed to see something fall from the sky and then 15 minutes later come on and give you a performance? I mean, unless you want me to be fake, because I could be Van Jones, because Van Jones deserves an Oscar for the fucked up performances or magnificent performances he's been giving for the past 4 years. This man talks out the side of his neck every single damn week. One moment you're talking about a white backlash. Next moment you're saying President Trump is presidential. Then you're crying on election day, when Trump is finally, has been defeated and Biden gets nomination. You're talking about your kids in this moment and this was a good time for good people. Dude, you've been sitting down with damn Jared Kushner. Shut the fuck up about good people win. You have been sitting with these thugs, these grifters for 4 years, buddying up to them, chumming up to them, being cool with them. And now all of a sudden you talking about good people win, dignity wins, respect. You've been riding with the dirt bags. Or as I like to call them, scumbags. You've been rolling with the perfect trash trio. Trump, Ivanka, and Jared. You've been cool with them. Taking pictures. Homies, being hype, being the biggest cheerleader. My goodness. I mean, and people, let me clarify this. White people forget. They don't actually know. They see this. I remember everybody was sharing that video where he's crying and being emotional, about, Kamala winning and talking about how, Kamala, his daughter can see that. And, they always play into that. Let me say, the biggest assholes are the ones who oftentimes evoke their children to shield them from how messed up as a person they are. Donald Trump does it all the time. Donald Trump always brags about Don Jr. and Ivanka. He don't talk about Tiffany. He will never talk about Tiffany. Okay, he leaves her out the conversation altogether. And I'm disappointed in her as a Penn alum. I mean, they're all Penn alum, but I'm so disappointed. Everyone always kept trying to say, oh, Tiffany's different from the rest of them. None of them are different from the rest of them. Melania Trump is not different from the rest of them. Oh my goodness. You all tried for 4 years. Okay, and this is a black journalist on his soapbox. So to the people that might be in their bag listening to this, you have to understand that for the past 4 years and some change, I've been covering Trump's ass. And I have had to sit back and hear so many white people and editors and reporters and people try to tell me, you got to see both sides of this issue. Be objective, objectivity. Like all of these ridiculous ass passive aggressive dog whistles for journalists like myself out here in the field. So I'm going to be on my soapbox. But you all tried to act like Ivanka Trump was something special. That she was, that she was, doing something different. Or even Melania Trump too, right? Melania Trump specifically, because Ivanka Trump's supposed to be having a political future. What the fuck? No one's electing her ass. Not on my watch. I'm not voting for her. If anybody announces that she's running, I'm going to be tagging people like, don't vote for this crazy batshit woman. I don't think another Trump, I don't care which Trump, even Barron Trump, little Barron or tall Barron. Barron is 14 and tall as hell. Even big little Barron. No, none of them are going to ever hold a seat in office. Not even for dog catcher. Okay? It's not happening. Okay? It is not happening. All right? And Melania, everyone was talking about Melania. Melania gets her ass up and try to give a little statement or whatnot and sentence herself about the attack she's experienced and how she felt. Girl, if you don't get your ass out of here and take them Christmas trees with you, you knew what you was getting yourself into. You knew listen, over it, done with it. And shout out to social media for really, actually, no shout out to social media. What the fuck am I thinking? Listen, happy that you did it, but fuck you for taking so long. And that goes for everybody. Because I wrote a piece in the Daily Beast in 2020 that told Twitter to deactivate Trump's account before the inauguration. Because there was speculation at that time that they were going to wait until after. But look what happened. It had to be a whole insurrection. So I'm not saying I predicted it. What I'm saying is that it took a damn insurrection. And I don't think people have really taken the time to process it. I mean, it has been a week. And I'm still trying to process it. But can we, really unpack? Oh, here I am being one of those ways in which unpack people. Yikes. But can we really take a moment? A bunch of motherfuckers flew down in a pandemic to DC and really stormed the national capitol, the Capitol building like that shit was okay. They just said, fuck it. We just gonna come up in here. And they didn't care. And only 6 people died. Only 6 people died. Meanwhile, there were hundreds of them out there, ratchet, doing whatever, but only 6 died. And that wasn't 6 of the protesters. Some of them included officers who were attacked. But, 6 people in the entire, ordeal did. And I'm not going to keep saying that imagine if black people did it. Because, like I said before, black people don't do shit like this. We have never in American history done anything like this. So stop talking about what black people did. Because black folks have not done it. And if they were going to do it, they would have been did it. We would have had 1,000 reasons to do an insurrection, and we did not do it. Because that's not who we are. That is who white people are. That is who white supremacists are. Own your shit. Stop placing us in the box. I hate that every time white people commit criminal acts, we have to put them up against black people as if, that's the standard, or is it as if we are something of the same gene pool. We're fucking not. You have to have a certain amount of white privilege, audacity, to think you can do something like that and be alive. And guess what? There was a high likelihood, a superior likelihood, that you could pull that shit off and not die. And the gag is that they haven't even arrested or captured any of those people most of the people who did the crime. So there's a lot of people out here that got away with that shit. And some of those people out there were state reps and state legislators and police officers, off-duty officers that were out there. Okay? So when we say there is no such thing as a good cop in a racist system, Mr. Goodwin does not get to be a hero in this situation. Period. He had no business being down there. He has no business being a cop. And I want people to understand that black cops, there's no difference between there's no difference between a black cop and a white cop. I was interrogated. Okay, I found my free speech rights violated by black officers when I spoke out about an incident. And I talked about that in the sneak peek episode, which again is the ultimate episode to know all about me for those deep diving in the podcast. Now, I encourage you to listen to that first sneak peek episode because that's pretty much a bio of who I am in my work. But that happened to me, and that happened by black cops. So I don't play this whole making distinctions within a fucked up racist system. There's no distinctions. You sign up for that, you become one of them. That's the same way I feel about Tim Scott, who's that Republican senator. I don't give a fuck that he's black because he does not amplify or support the issues that impact black people in this country. To be a black elected official and to say that Trump should not be impeached means that you are on the side of keeping a white supremacist not accountable. Trump needs to be impeached for the sake of accountability. If Bill Clinton can get impeached for an erection, Donald Trump should be impeached for an insurrection. Period. Keep that same energy. Keep it. And yes, Bill Clinton lied. Okay, he violated, his presidential rights. He deserved to face the scrutiny he deserved to face. I am not exonerating Bill Clinton. Heaven forbids. And honestly, if you don't think he should have got it for his fellatio situation, and his gross abuse of power in that regard, right? Of like literally messing with an intern. How about we just say that he deserved it for the 1994 crime bill as the president that pushed that bill? Okay, so either way it go, he got what he got, but Trump needs to get it too. And it is now 2021, and Trump might get away with not getting impeached, like getting the full punishment. Put him through the ringer. Why can't this man be like Nixon? I knew that he was going to upsert Nixon in the shame game of presidents. And I want to just say to people that there's a lot of people saying that Donald Trump is the worst president in American history. Okay, white people. Because I'm going to say this, and I have to say this, that as a descendant of slaves in the United States, your favorite presidents, the ones y'all be going up for, a lot of them, right? George Washington and many more owned slaves, owned them, okay? And any president that owned people as property and raped them, okay? Jefferson. To me, that's not a great American president either. They go on the list too. I just think people's observations of history is always going to be subjective based on their identity. Like Reagan is not a great American president. Now, Reagan is a notable conservative president because of his conservative agenda for conservatives, but as a black queer man, Ronald Reagan is one of the worst American presidents. And so is Donald Trump. And so is Nixon and George Washington and those who own slaves. And also, Andrew Jackson, that bastard. We can't forget about his Trail of Tears ass and what he did to indigenous people. These are the type of people that I don't look at, right? You want to talk about good presidents? Jimmy Carter wasn't bad, right? Obama wasn't terrible. FDR did some good things. Lincoln, y'all can debate about him. I'm not even going to get into Lincoln. Nope, not today. Not doing it. Not doing Lincoln. But I wish more people took some time to really deep dive into Lincoln. That's all I'm going to say on that. But where the impeachment resides, because it needs to happen. The impeachment needs to happen. Where the impeachment resides, it needs to reside in 2021 for Trump. Period. So as you know, the inauguration is coming down the pipelines very soon. DC is shutting everything the fuck down. Shout out to Aaron B. shutting down those reservations, airports, hotels, accommodations. Shut that shit down. And to black people, let me reiterate this again. You want no parts, okay, on January 20th. Stay your ass home. Stay your ass home. Keep a mask on that face. Keep your fridge stocked. Have your hands clean. Get some hand sanitizer. Stock up, pile up, because we don't know what's going to happen. And I'm not playing those games. I will be doing this podcast in my lovely abode, which I'm currently in right now, and I will be bunkered down. I am not going anywhere on January 20th. I am staying here. I'm not playing any games. Okay, the last time I went to a presidential inauguration, I went with my best friend, Jamarcus Henderson. I was a student at the time at Penn, and Penn gave a bus for community and Penn students to go to inauguration. So, I had to bring my bestie on, and we went to DC. It was 2012, and it was 2013. 2013 was 8 years ago. 2013, we saw President Obama get sworn in for his second term, something that Trump does not have. And it was a great time. It was cold as hell. Beyonce lip synced the inauguration, lip synced the national anthem. Kelly Clarkson sung her song. And it was a great day. I still have I still remember. I was like, I'm still shocked that I went out there. It was like hundreds and thousands of people out there. And I went. I was a part of that moment. And I made it out okay. It was crazy. It was so many people. I don't even know how we pulled that off. Because I can't even imagine going to anything right now. But there were people really trying to do a bus to go down to DC in Philadelphia. And I'm sitting here looking like, huh? Okay, what? How? All I gotta say is, I'm not impressed. Don't do it. Don't do it. It is still a pandemic. This virus is still killing people. Like this super virulent strand or whatever it is going out there and hurting people. And so many lives have been lost. And I like over 300,000 people have died in America now from COVID-19. It's not a game. Just, I don't know why people are so stupid. And speaking of stupidity, because I just have to say this. I just have to say this because it's been on my mind and I cannot, I cannot, people. I cannot. There's been a lot of people, and now I'm on my podcast because sometimes I make Facebook posts, I make tweets, and people respond. And a lot of you, all the listeners, listen, respond to my tweets, my Facebook posts, and people get defensive and whatnot. But I really have to say this. I cannot take seeing people put up these summery, beachy Instagram posts of them on vacation in the middle of this fucking pandemic. It irks me, it infuriates me, it angers me. I yell, I curse, and sometimes I unfollow. Because it's really hard for me to understand why would anyone, knowing what we know, seeing what we're seeing, why would anyone be okay with putting themselves out there and flexing? It's a flex. I'm sorry, it's a flex. It's a flex. To see it's first of all, it's winter, and you're going on a plane, and you're flying out of the country. You're going to Dominican Republic. You're going to Puerto Rico. You're going wherever, right? And you're taking these pictures. You're posing and you're flexing. You want attention. That's why you put the fucking picture up, right? You want people to see it. You want to post. You want attention. You want it. Like, otherwise you wouldn't post it. Listen, if I was a sneaky motherfucker and I was a sneaky little bitch and I decided to go out and go abroad and do some shit like that, I wouldn't even post it. Because it's none of your business. I mean, listen, let me be clear. Full disclaimer. Mr. Owens and Mr. Johnson, his loving fiance, my loving fiance, we will not be going abroad. Like, let me be very clear. We're getting married in the fall of 2021, like later this year. And our honeymoon is going to be in Philadelphia, most likely at the Four Seasons. And we're going to do a staycation and we're going to keep it cute. Like, that's it. Like, I'm not leaving out of state. Okay. Like, out of state meaning I'm not going to New York. I'm not going to DC. Listen, if I'm vaccinated, I might do a little bit of light travel on the ground. But as far as flights go, I'm not doing any flights. Like, I'm not doing any flights. I'm not even considering it before my wedding. It just can't be done. I can't right now, unless there is some major improvements. But right now, going out without a vaccination and traveling across the country and bringing that shit back into this country is going to actually delay the normalcy that we want. It's going to delay the progress that we need right now. And not enough people are getting these vaccinations fast enough. And especially Black people. In Philadelphia, this is a majority Black and brown city. And yet most of the vaccinations being distributed right now is white people. Like, the racial disparities are real. And there are people, there are wonderful black health physicians like Dr. Ayla Stanford, who is really out here kicking ass, doing the best that she can with her team at the Black Doctors Consortium. Okay, they're doing some great work. But you got these other people out here, and I got to throw my shade, like Philly Fights COVID, that's out here just like, who the hell are you all? You ain't been in here, but yet you're getting access to the damn convention center, and you got your high-tech bros and folks over here running this joint, when you got people like Dr. Alice Stanford and that crew over there who's been doing the work. And then these people come up in here, and they don't have the type of cultural competency and relatability in our community that these people do. And so it's still a lot of racial disparities in this healthcare access, even for a vaccination that is disproportionately impacting Black people. I just had to say that. And I just have to say to the people that's going out here taking these pictures and flexing, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. If you want to go out, go out. But I don't want to fucking see it on my timeline. And I really want to tell you, your followers don't want to see it. Because it is a slap in the face to a lot of the health physicians right now that are telling people to avoid massive travel. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm not a hater. But I am somebody who do look. And I've made a private commitment to myself that to a lot of these dumbasses that are out here doing the most with these posts, I will not refer you for something. If somebody asks me, do you know any photographers or whatever who do some things? If I see you out here flexing during COVID, not recommending you, because you're a bad decision maker. You're a bad decision maker. That's not a good decision. I can't trust you. You're impatient. You don't have the ability to be careful. It's selfish. It's selfish. It's absolutely selfish. I can't tell you how many people I've seen, just go out to like different trips and flex. Like, why? People are dying. You can die. This is not a game. But whatever. Really, no, not whatever. People are really dying. Over it. Over it. Over it. And people say, oh, Ernest is pushing cancel culture. Whatever. It is what it is. I said what I said. Not here for it. And not here for it. And I almost forgot this, but somebody asked me to tell this joke, if it's really a joke. So I'm backpedaling a little bit to a lot of the stuff that was happening with social media and the censorship. Everyone's saying, not everybody, but some people, public figures, won't say notable because I don't think they're notable as much anymore. But there are some interesting people who have been very critical about Donald Trump being taken off of the social media interwebs. And one of those interesting people was none other than Carrie Hilson. Now, you might remember Carrie Hilson's music over a decade ago, in the 2000s, because I don't know if she was really popping in the 2010s. Barely. Nope. Carrie was hot in the 2000s, the late 2000s, around 2008. That's when she was at her height of her career, because she definitely was not popping in 2010s. I don't even know why people still hold on to her. But anyway, she decided, because she does this like every year. Last year it was about 5G and some conspiracy theory. And this time around, she's suggesting that this is a free speech issue and that this should be concerning and yada, yada, yada. I'm like, Carrie, they say a broken clock is right twice a day. Carrie is the clock that just does not move. It doesn't move. And it doesn't have actual, arrows either. She's the broken clock with no arrows, because she's never right at any time. And it's just become disappointing, because I just don't understand why she continues to take L's even in 2001. Like having you learned each era, right? 2010s, okay, era. 2000s, screw up, right? Listen, I was on the team of leave her the fuck alone about the Beyonce stuff, right? She threw her shots at Beyonce. That was over 10 years ago. Let's move on, Beehive. I'm not a member of the Beehive. I'm a member of the Rihanna Navy. But people, let it go. She's suffered enough. Her career has taken enough hits. We get it. No one listens to her music. Why keep harping? Like, please, please, please. But anywho, people really want to, do not like what Carrie Hilson said many ER goes ago. But in this moment, I was like, Carrie, why, dear? Why conflate protecting free speech with taking off a dictator who basically uses these platforms to promote hate crimes and hate? Like, how are we conflating the two? To anyone who's making a free speech argument, how come we only protect free speech when it's being done by white supremacists and bigots? Why haven't anyone, these same people, fight the crusade when feminists are getting banned off of social media sites for saying men are trash? Literally, I know feminists that have said men are trash and have gotten, which is a fact, men are trash. History has said that. That have been able to get banned, and no one fought for them like that. No one went hard in the paint. No one called Mark Zuckerberg out about it as and let me be clear, who I'm talking about, the nobodies. People that were not in the feminist community, people who were not a part of the activist community. Everyday folks. No one was speaking out against that type of censorship. Or when black people on those apps say the N-word, and they automatically get suspended for saying the N-word. I mean, it's a lot of double standards. But every time a white supremacist do something or say something, that's the kind of speech we want to defend and uplift. Or do the avalanche, thing going. Oh, well, if they do this, listen, stop letting hate speech be your example of protecting free speech. And you clearly don't know what free speech is. Free speech ain't free. And also free speech is not any speech. Okay, that's why there's a difference between free speech, which is permissible speech, and then there's hate speech. And hate speech is not free speech. And so if you're doing hate speech, you violate, and therefore it goes away. And as black people, okay, Carrie, we don't need to be playing this free speech game with white folks and entertaining those type of conversations. Because even when we speak the truth, we get censored or intimidated. I got taken to a counterterrorism unit because I had a Facebook post calling out the racist history of the Philadelphia Mummers. Okay. I didn't see you or any of your free speech defenders going up saying, hey, actually, that's fucked up. Let Ernest be able to talk his shit. Like, no one said anything about that. So girl, bye. And let me just also say this, because this is the part where I get a little petty. But I'm trying to do that both sidism shit, or that finding nuance in the situation. I could understand how Carrie Hilson would feel, because here's what Carrie Hilson was doing, y'all. Carrie Hilson, for those who don't know who Carrie Hilson is, Carrie Hilson is a former R&B musician and songwriter who had some notable hits, and quickly her career skyrocketed and then shortly fell the day she decided to go up against the most prominent female pop artist of our current musical era, Beyonce Giselle Knowles Carter. So that's what happened to Carrie. And ever since then, she's been, making stunts and pulling stunts to try to be relevant in the conversation. And sometimes she succeeds and sometimes she don't. But in this case, I understand that if I was in Carrie Hilson's shoes, there's a reason why Carrie Hilson said what she said. If I was not getting any major bookings, magazine covers, media coverage, movies, gigs, and other type of relevant hits that were on charts, if I didn't get any of those things, and the only thing that I relied on was social media to keep me relevant and keep me in a conversation and keep me present, I too would be worried about what would happen if I said dumb shit on social media and was fearing censorship. So basically, Carrie Hilson was projecting, because Carrie Hilson is someone who's also very irrelevant. She's also somebody who needs social media. And in recent years, the only time we talk about Carrie Hilson is something she posts on her Instagram or social media. We're not talking about a new movie, a new project, a new anything from Carrie recently. I mean, everything has been about her social media behavior. So I can see her in her mindset thinking, wait a minute, I say a lot of dumb shit on the internet. This could be me, which it would never be her, but this could be me. So she's like, listen, we got to fight against this because this could happen to someone like me. And I'm like, no, it would never happen to you, Carrie. But then again, never say never. It is 2021. But at the same time, that being said, this is not the hill to die on, Carrie. So that's all I got to say about Carrie Hilson on that. Speaking of people who, well, not even people, but there has been a lot of controversy, and I want to get this out the way because when she becomes the vice president next week, I hope we move on past talking about this shit and talk about her policies. So I want to put a full disclaimer. What I'm about to say about Vice President elect, which this will be the last time on this podcast that I will be calling her Vice President elect, because the next time we talk, she will be Vice President Kamala Harris. But right now, she is currently Madam Vice President elect Kamala Harris. This disclaimer is that I am not talking about her politics right now. I have concerns, just like the rest of you all, about her politics, about some of the things she has done over the years. I want to see what she's going to do in this position. I'm not a fan of her law and order and law enforcement background. And the things I'm going to say in defense of her is in defense of her policies or what she stands for, but specifically talking about the Vogue cover, the infamous Vogue cover. And by now, you all know what this cover is. So first of all, let me back this up for people who don't know everything, even though you probably do, but this is going to be quick. Long story short, Kamala Harris did a 2-cover special with Vogue. One of the covers has her looking like her traditional self, pantsuit, light colors, pretty colors, nice background, looking very presidential. No one's really upset about that cover. It's pretty safe, pretty neutral. She's using light blue, yellow accents to show optimism. It's a great shot. It's a cool shot. Boring, boring shot. But it's safe. It's the Kamala that everyone is familiar with. Okay? Now let's go to the other shot. It is a picture of her with some Chuck Taylors on, her signature Chucks. She's got these jogger pants on. She's got this like very sportsy, yet semi-casual, yet formal-esque jacket. Background is a very disheveled draping of pink and green drapery, which is symbolic because she is an AKA, which is she's a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and their colors is green and pink, or pink and green, and they do pinkies and all that jazz. Anyway, so she's an AKA, and so that symbolizes it. Also in that background, she's just in the middle, and it's a disheveled hot mess of a photo, but a photo that kind of just is the most laid back that we've seen Kamala on a front cover ever. It was shot by Tyler Mitchell, who is the first Black photographer to ever do a front cover issue for Vogue. And the first cover he ever did was the one on Beyonce for Vogue, and he became the first Black photographer to have a front cover, do a front cover shoot for Vogue. And he's a young Black millennial. He's a Black millennial, young. He's in his like 20s, and he's killing it. And he did it. He shot Beyonce, and then now he's done Kamala. So he is killing it, man. And his concepts are very different, very avant-garde, and just very creative. And I'm a fan of his photography. I love that this brother is doing some good things. The reporter who did the story was a Black woman. Editors who were helping assist with this concept were all Black for the most part. Editorial lenses were to Black folks at Vogue. So that's the background. Of course, there's been a lot of criticism because people are like, why do they got Kamala in these Chucks? Like in this background, why is she not looking more presidential? Why they got her looking like a mess? I don't like the editing. It looks sloppy. It looks like it's not put together. Yada 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 yada. Let me explain something to you all. First of all, let me just say this. Full disclaimer. I love the shoot. I at first was kind of like, what is going on here? But then when I read the actual profile on Kamala for Vogue, and I looked at those 2 photos, it made sense. And I was very much in awe. I was like, wow, they did that. Like, you go, Tyler. Because let me tell you something. Vogue did exactly what it wanted to do. It achieved exactly what it wanted to do. It was disruptive with a cause. And let me say this, there's a lot of rumors that Kamala did not approve the photo. Let me tell you something as a journalist, okay? And actually as a person who works for a magazine. I am the editor at large for Philadelphia Magazine. That's one of my many hats. There has never been a source, okay? And in this situation, Kamala would be the source. Or a profile or person of interest that we could cover that gets to tell a photographer or the editorial team what photo they want and how they can approve. It was not a photo shoot. It is an editorial cover. That means that journalists have the reins and the rights to make editorial decisions as they see fit. However, they do involve the source in letting them know what the concept is. Sources have the choice to not give consent to their participation, but they don't get the consent or choose at that point. I mean, they give their consent to one participate and they give consent for the photos to be used, but they don't get to then choose and editorialize what the photos will be. Because if you do that, you will be surprised. You would be surprised. I learned this lesson when I was in college. I made a rookie mistake in college. I was covering something, let a person know what was going to be in the story, and child, when I tell you what was supposed to be oh yeah, do it, I put my trust in you, they start to backpedal on quotes that they actually said. And I said, oh no, you will not. We're not doing that. But you don't do that. You cannot give a source editorial. At that point, you do your fucking spread. You do your damn profile. You profile, be Donald Trump. Create your own fucking cover. Trump has created fake Time magazine covers of himself. Like, if you want to be that ballsy and bold, make your own covers yourself. But when you put yourself, you give yourself, whether you are a vice president or you are a dictator or whomever you might be, you give that consent, you give that editorial control to those creators, to those journalists to be able to tell that story. And I think that they did. And so for those who say Kamala didn't approve it, no one gets to approve it. So honestly, I think that Kamala clearly was okay with the angle, because the truth of the matter is a lot of people did not like the direction that they went. Kamala was there. She put them chucks on. She got her ass over there by that drape. She posed for that picture. Like, she okayed this. And this is she will be the most powerful woman in the world. And you think for 5 seconds she just was like, okay, yeah, go ahead and make me look stupid? I have to take a moment to suck that in real quick. I interviewed Kamala Harris. I had an exclusive interview for Kamala Harris for Philadelphia Magazine. And I interviewed the most powerful woman in the world. And she's a black woman. Not bad. I'm going to give myself a pound of back. Not bad about that. But anywho, I like I said, I think people have to understand that, for me, I think if people really took the time to, one, read the feature story, but two, I know there are some very prominent black journalists like Robin Givens at the Washington Post who is very critical about this. And I've read it and I get it. I think a bunch of grandmas and aunties and folks my parents' age are not pleased. And I knew they weren't. But I also think, like, this is me. This is my theory. I think Kamala, I think Tyler, I think that team gave no fucks. I think the goal was to disrupt. And I think they achieved it. And I think that how I know Kamala was okay with this hot ass mess photo shoot, which I think it was a beautiful hot mess, was that she did another cover. They did 2 covers. I think their intentions were to do 2 covers. I think she was like, look, I'm not going to do this if you don't have my good cover. Because this is the cover that I'm going to give my folks. And this is the cover that, we can make be in the history books. The truth of the matter is that if Kamala only went with the other cover, the safe cover, it would have been cool. People would have talked about it, but it would have never got the same buzz or energy or conversation as the other one. And I think that is symbolic of Kamala. Kamala is someone with promise to people, but she's also a hot mess. She is someone who also loves the casualness of her life, but she also has this side of her that is very unconventional, very unique, and that symbolizes her office. Like, she is unique. And so when people were saying things like, oh, she wasn't vice presidential. Well, are you comparing her to a man? Because there's never in the history of American politics has been a female vice president. She is the first. And so in many ways, there is nothing to compare her to. There's nothing to compare her to as a Black woman in this role, as a woman in general. There's nothing that prepares her for what that photo shoot could have been. And for her to change the narrative, to get outside of the status quo, embodies what she's trying to be in this office, which makes sense why she did that. And it's brilliant because it's like, it's unfiltered, it's raw, it's untouched, it's unhinged, and it really reflects a side of Kamala that is what really drove voters to her. People didn't vote for Kamala for her grace and her classiness. That's what made you all like First Lady Michelle Obama. Kamala is not Michelle Obama, and both of them should coexist. I'm not trying to compare them. I'm not trying to compare them against each other as if one is better than the other. I actually think that those types of personalities should be able to coexist. I think that we should allow Black women to have the same nuances that we allow white women to, right? You all loved all types of Ariana Grandes and Taylor Swifts and Beyonce, Beyonce's not a white woman, but you all have allowed that for Gaga, right? Gaga could be country, Gaga could be soft, Gaga could be ratchet and wild and be out here in meat dresses. You've allowed all of these white women in history to do that. But with Black women, there's always this pigeonhole of Black women in politics. They have to be prim, proper, in a certain type of way. And I think, honestly, you're never going to see Kamala Harris on a front cover of a magazine like that ever in her life. And I think that she said, before I swear and take that oath and get sworn in, let me have a little fun. One last time. Because you're never going to see Kamala be in those chucks like that, running down that runway. She's not going to do that. She will be forever, at least in her presidency, for most of the time, when she is coming off of Air Force One or Two or whatever, she's going to be in heels. She's going to have that. She's going to be in pantsuits. She's going to be presidential. And the next 4 years are going to be more, like that. You're going to see more covers like her safe cover than you are of her in chucks. I think she said, let me have this last moment of fun. Because her life will never be the same again. And I don't think people study American politics. Clearly they don't. Folks don't study American politics. But I have, right? I once upon a time, not anymore, had presidential political aspirations and, admired it. But I used to read so many books that were written by presidents. Like I read JFK's book. I've read Obama's books, including his most recent one, A Promised Land. It's a little boring. It was a little boring. I'm ready for part two. I want to read part two. I think part two is when things are going to get really turned. I think part two, but volume two of the book is going to be a little bit more turned because we start talking about Black Lives Matter. We start talking about Trump, and I'm just curious to see what happens then because the book one is really just about his first term, and it's about Obamacare and his election, and there were some high moments, but like for example, Michelle Obama, forever First Lady, not being a fan of him running for president, like she was not here for it, which reminds me sometimes of my fiance Barry. There's times where I throw my hat in the ring to run for stuff, and he just be like, again, is it not going to be enough? And then you finally win, and then you win the president of the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists. I'm talking about myself at this point, but I had a moment, and so sometimes you gotta trust your instinct. But shout out to good, loving spouses and supporters and things of that nature. I enjoy becoming more. I enjoy becoming more. I'll just say that. Okay, so where I'm getting at was that studying presidents is that when you become the president, your life, the vice president, your life is never the same. And I mean, that's history. That we know this. Like, there's the privacy that you once had for your life. Never again. Never. You will never have the opportunity to just go to an ice cream shop. I mean, even when Kamala was a senator, she could play around and go places and stuff. She's not going to be able to do that, y'all. And she will not be able to take photo shoots like that again. Like Kamala will be with black and navy power suits. You'll see her rocking her power suits and her heels and her strong beads and pearls. That will be her. And that's why I thought the cover was powerful, is because she said, I think there was many ways of her showing how she went from this to this transformation and this reflection of where she was or who she is, and wants to remind everyone that, because that she's not going to, you're not going to see that again. So I think it was bold. I think that Tyler will go down in history as one of the most, prolific Black magazine photographers of all time. Like, he has definitely, he's earning his stripes. He's still got some more work to do, clearly, but he definitely is in the history books, and he is continuously killing it. And I think for so many people that was trashing it, like, let's take a moment and just really recognize that this wasn't some white photographer. This was not, listen, Vogue has had far worse covers, okay, because we're not going to act like we don't want to talk about what Ann be doing out here. We don't talk about what she be doing with her photos for Vogue. And I don't understand how she still keep getting the checks. But legends, y'all, legends on legends. But it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. And I'm not trying to just hold grace for people. And I'm not talking about Kamala. I'm talking about Tyler. I'm talking about these Black writers, these journalists. Because, it is hard out here to be a Black journalist in this era. As a Black journalist, I am saying to my fellow Black journalist that is listening to this right now, it is not easy being us. Because let me tell you, especially when you're somebody that writes about race, let me just put that on the table. As someone who writes about race, who now podcasts about race, it is not easy. One of the things that annoys me a lot is having to deal with folks, especially white people, who want so much of my labor for free. Like, listen, I give you all a podcast that is free. The columns that I write, some of them are on a paywall. You need to get a subscription. But a lot of them are also free and accessible in some type of way. Free. Somewhat. My social media posts, my content, a lot of times my videos, my film panels, free. And I have countless, hundreds of articles, op-eds, pieces that explore race in different ways, on different issues, different topics. I don't think there's not one thing have not yet covered about race in America in modern times. Like, I haven't done a lot of historical, like back historical commentary, but current historical context, yes, I've done a lot. And continue to on a weekly basis. So I don't have time to have tea time for free, okay, with white people who want to pick my brain. First of all, if I hear anyone tell me they want to pick my brain 2021, automatic ignore. Because my time is of the essence. And I'm going to talk about time later in this podcast, but in this episode actually, because something has happened and I do want to talk about it that revolves around time. And I want to talk about that. And it's even thinking about right now makes me a little sad. But my time is valuable and I cannot spend it allowing for people to continuously, I'm just gonna, can I pick your brain? No, you cannot. No, you cannot. No, you cannot waste my time. No, you cannot make me respond to your email or answer your burning question that you can Google or engage with you in this additional dialogue about something that you've clearly made your mind up about. I used to be dumb and think once upon a time when I was young, because I've been doing this for 10 years. I am not new to this. I am true to this. And just because you just now found out who I am doesn't mean that I'm new. Just because I'm new to you don't mean I'm new to this work, which is something that Feminista Jones often, says a lot. But I think about that with my work in my imprint in journalism. And so sometimes I get a little annoyed when I get specifically white people, but a lot of black people don't do this to me. They just be like, yes. And that's my queer people. And that's another story for another day. That's for my black queer folk. But for the other ones, they be like, yeah, brother, preach on, brother, speak. Or they say preach, or or they give me compliments. They keep it moving, right? But I get these inquisitive white people who I don't know if they mean well or not. Sometimes they do. I won't say all of them don't mean well, but it's just that there is a lack of respect for my personal space and boundaries. And recognizing that just because I'm your new best friend in your head, right? Your new best black friend in your head, doesn't mean that the feelings are reciprocal. I don't want to be your token best black friend in your head. If you like my work, continue to read it and continue to share with your white friends and do what needs to be done. However, I don't want this to be a situation where I have to feel like I gotta respond, because I'm not. And I don't, and I struggle like, is it rude? But no, because listen, white people will take advantage of black people. And I'm not saying anything that is new, but I have heard countless stories from black journalists and activists and community members who often get overburdened doing this kind of work by white people who just care so much and want to know so much, but they don't pay so much. They don't extend opportunities and equity as much. And oftentimes will take your information and repackage it and then profit off of your fucking work. And that's how you get books by white women like Robin and whomever with her fragility book. Because there are people like her who can have a New York Times bestseller book, right, about racism as a white woman, and will trample over all of the black people who've done that writing, reporting, and experience, and will trample over that with her privilege. Ha! A book about white fragility and privilege being done by a woman who's benefiting off of it and writing said fucking book. How despicable. But that is what happens. And so I have learned to guard myself from a lot of excessive demands of my time and my voice that does not fulfill me in some type of way, does not pay me in some type of way. And people say, ooh, why is everything got to be money? You fucking gotta be kidding me. Let me tell you something. I have a wedding to pay for. I am making inroads on that wedding. I'm very happy with the progress I'm going to pay my wedding off by the end of the spring. Amen. That being said, I have things. I have a life. I have to eat. I have to provide for myself. I am a black independent media producer and content producer. I have my own business, Ernest Media Empire LLC. It is a media production, consulting, communications company. That's my business. My business cannot thrive if I am spending my time entertaining conversations with white people that will not get me anywhere, will not take me anywhere, will not pay me anywhere. I cannot do it. And too often, black people feel obligated because when we're dealing with issues around racism, we're saying that we do this work not only to inform people, but we're fighting for our lives. I do this podcast. I write these pieces partially to one, as a way to express my thoughts, but also as a way to provide information that can inspire people of all backgrounds to take this world seriously, to make changes that can change institutions, that can change policy, that can change communities. And so I do this because I do want the world to be a better place. I put my work out so that people can think critically about the world around them, use that information, and then make a difference. So I don't do this for fun and for shits and giggles, or just to make money. I do it because I believe that this is the way that I can contribute to the world and really improve the quality of my life, because I see so much fucked up things happening, and this is how I address it. So with that being said, black people, especially in this work, feel the burden of not trying to piss off a white person, or at least I used to feel that burden. I don't feel that burden anymore, but I was younger. I mean, I'm 29. I'm learning. But I used to remember being under the burden of feeling like, oh my goodness, I gotta appeal to white people, or I can't say no to a white person, or they message me, so I gotta respond back, or they send email, I gotta say something, and I was overwhelming myself, and it was exhausting, and I got to a point where I started to get into my head about what I was actually writing as a writer and what I was producing. Not too much, okay? When I started to feel that moment where I started double guessing and double thinking, I was like, oh, hold up, something got to change. And you have that epiphany, and then you say, okay, what's going on right now? And I had that. I want to say around 2018 during the midterms. It was 2 years of the Trump era, and I started to hit this like wall with myself where I began to feel like, okay, why am I doing this and who am I doing this for? Where is this going? And I just was overwhelmed because you had these safety pin wearing white people who were out here, just trying to say they're allies and all this and all that, and it was just too much. And so, definitely I want to say after the midterms in 2018, I took a moment to really reflect and say, what am I doing? What has happened? Because in 2016, Black folks know there was this insurgence in 2016, 2017 of white people. Because see, white people do this stuff in iterations, right? There's always big moment happens. And then white people, go out their way to make promises and proposals for change and create a more inclusive society. Then things, quote unquote, calm down. Or in other words, the news stopped really covering the shit. And then they calmed the fuck down. Then they stopped caring. And then we're back on some bullshit until another bullshit thing happens. So that's kind of how it works, right? And so last year, 2020, I talk about this, but like it was a big year for me. Like a big year for my career in a bittersweet way, right? Because I was given more opportunities to write and talk about race. And I wrote about this in an op-ed I did for The Nation about this. But like having this opportunity to talk about race, to talk about it on all these platforms. I was getting television appearances, radio appearances. I mean, it was what I've always wanted to do in my career. But the fact of the matter is that it was under the pretenses that now, because racism was this trendy topic to white people, that it was fleeting. And so since then, I have been in a place of reminding myself that white people are not reliable as a collective when it comes to aiding and supporting Black liberation and movement work. They collectively are not going to be the people we lean on to get us through. Everybody talks about we have to all come together. Listen, Black people have been ready to come together since day one. But you all put chains on us. You threw us in prisons. You sick dogs on us. You sprayed water hose on us. You suppressed our voting rights. You drugged us. You put drugs out there. You took us away from public resources and accommodations, segregated our schools, put us through Jim Crow 3,000 different times, and gave us a fucking president who was trying to extinguish us. And that's what you gave us. And so it's hard to believe, even at this point in the game, that white people are serious. Because even at this point, when the insurrection and with Trump creating one of the biggest acts of treason known in modern American history, there are still white people that are trying to say that this shouldn't happen. You got idiots, okay, like James Comey, who, let's be clear, James Comey should not be opening his mouth right now. Like, why is he talking? Who asked for James Comey to speak? This is the same man who pretty much was the biggest reason why 2016, was one of the biggest reasons why 2016 did not work in Hillary's favor. Okay, Hillary herself believed that that is what cost her the election when he wanted to keep that investigation that never went anywhere afloat. And for all of that hype, for all of that madness, for all of the bullshit, he now says Trump should be in jail. Trump should, be arrested. But he thinks that Biden should pardon him. Listen, if anybody asks for your opinion again in life, whoever does, don't. And what have we, I don't know what has happened, but we have been resurrecting a lot of these no shit people. Like Geraldo Rivera, got on Twitter talking some shit the other night about how Trump went crazy because of the election and that's what propelled him to do the dumb stuff that he's doing. Like, this is maddening. Like, what? So y'all go act like Trump was not crazy before the election. So all of a sudden, he loses the election and that's when he loses his mind. Y'all are crazy. Trump was prepared to lose. Trump knew he was going to lose. Trump Trump was already talking. Listen, when you think you're going to win something, you don't have a defeatist attitude. Trump had a defeatist attitude coming into this election. Trump knew his ass was going to get handed to him because he was going up against another white man. See, he was feeling good when he was going against Hillary because he was relying on sexism okay, to be on his side, which it was. But at the end of the day, he never got the popular vote. But the fact that this country still, even after Biden, I mean, Biden has had the most popular votes than any president in American history. But 74 million people. Trump was the second highest vote getter. More people voted for Trump in 2020 than they did for him in 2016. Still lost the popular vote, but what does that say? Oh, I don't got to ask that rhetorical question. We know what it says. It says that this country is not ready to heal. So I don't know what Biden is saying. I don't know what any of you are talking about this whole, it's time to bring the country together. Listen, the side who's been ready for healing has been waiting at the door for quite some time. Nobody is against healing, but like I said before, healing without accountability is gaslighting. Ain't gonna happen. Let it go. And lastly, before we get into some of this other juicy tea, to the people out here who are talking about these Republicans, talking this shit about how, oh my goodness, this impeachment process is going by too fast. We ain't gonna talk about your last Supreme Court justice hearings, okay? Because they slid Amy Coney Barrett up in there with no problems, okay? They made, I mean, that was one of the swiftest, fastest Supreme Court hearings I have seen in my at least in my childhood. I mean, I don't know. I haven't, I mean, there are some that are just very forgettable. But I mean, listen, so fun fact, I was born, my mother tells this story all the time. Maybe you all will get it. I was born on October 12th, 1991. For those people who are old enough or older than myself that remember that history, because it will be the 30th anniversary this year, Anita Hill. My mother said she had a contraction when she heard Anita Hill's testimony about the pubic hair on the soda can. And she said she, in that moment, was so shocked by that she had a contraction, and that was what sped up her to go to the emergency room. And then I was born on October 12th at 12 p.m. at Herman. I was born in Chicago, Illinois, and Michael Herman Hospital, I think it is. But I was born there in Chicago, young boy, and yeah, that was, I was born in, I was born in the midst of controversy. I was born in, I was born in Michael Reed Hospital. Yep, I was born in Michael Reed Hospital, in Chicago, Illinois, Cook County. That's where I was born, and then I moved to Houston. But yeah, that's how I was. That's how it happened. I was born in controversy. 30 years. It will be 30 years this year. And it would also be the 30th anniversary of the Anita Hill hearings. Won't call it a trial because, I mean, I think she was on trial. I mean, no, Curtis Thomas was on trial. But Clarence Thomas, sorry. It's been a long day. And this has been a late night. I've been up. So I'm actually, recording this podcast late because I wanted to get it out to you all before everything went crazy. So yes, Clarence Thomas, fuck Clarence Thomas. And the fact that he's still in the Supreme Court disgusts me, and his opinions disgust me, his sense. I mean, fuck Clarence Thomas. And I will always believe Anita Hill. So that's on that. So, and other interesting topics. Somebody wanted to ask me, and so some of you all messaged me, DM me, and asked me for my opinions on certain situations and cases and whatnot. And, sometimes I will look at it on my desk, and there are a lot of things that come on my desk. I'm like, you know what? This is bullshit. I'm not interested. I'm not here to talk about this. This isn't cool. And then some people send me stuff that I'm like, yeah, cool. Because last week you all asked about what I thought about Kim Kardashian and Kanye getting divorced. Well, I didn't care much about it at all. And actually I said next topic. And let me also say this. You all asked me that. Look at the country. No one cares. Like, I Listen, it must be a shitty year for Kris Jenner because the Kardashians is supposed to be up on their final season. Their ratings have not really been that good, thank God. No one cares about them. They have had over 10 years of fame. Like, they have been in the public eye for way so much time, and I think the world is over them. I don't care that they tried to have an extension with the Jenner, so now it's the Kardashian Jenner clan and all that. No one cares. I think we as a society, I think the pandemic, even though the pandemic is a devastating moment in human history, one of the things the pandemic has definitely done has been to slow down a lot of the excessive attention-seeking celebrity culture. I mean, listen, it's still out there. It's still out there. But like, I just love the fact that we're not harping so much on it. We're not obsessed with, it's not the fixture of our life. Like, okay, if somebody drops a surprise album, yeah, we'll get excited. I mean, Taylor Swift has done it. And I did enjoy, Evermore, her latest album. And I did enjoy, Folklore. Folklore is my shit. Okay. I do. I like the new music Taylor Swift has been putting out. There, I said it. If people did not know that, I am here to say that I am a new wave Swiftie. I do enjoy the new music Taylor Swift is putting out. I love Evermore. I love Folklore. Folklore is a masterpiece. And if I privately had a album of the year ballot, I would vote for her album. Don't tell anybody. I know people are going to be upset, but listen to the album. It's a grown-ass album. Taylor Swift is at that point where, and I'm not trying to compare her to Beyonce because she's not Beyonce at all. I'll just say this. Every artist, right, without making a comparison, but people get it. I like when pop artists begin to get into their grown-ass phase, when they become an adult. Usher put out that album, Here I Stand. It did not sell as much as Confessions because nothing from Usher will ever sell as much as Confessions, because Confessions is a diamond album that changed the game. But that being said, Here I Stand is a very mature, grown album from Usher, and I enjoyed that album. I enjoyed the songs. I thought they were very, mature, and I appreciated it. It came out many years ago, like over 10 years ago. But looking back in retrospect, I get what Usher was doing with it, and I appreciated it. And granted, he was married, and that was part of his influence, and then he got that divorce. But I think that I like when I see artists grow up. And I think that what Taylor Swift is doing with these two albums, these are albums that's showing a grown-up side to her in a way that she doesn't feel like she has anything to prove. She just wants to just put out just some really thoughtful, good music that is rich in storytelling, which is what I think she does well at musically and lyrically. And you have people like Beyonce who did the same thing. I think 4 is one of her most underrated albums. Because 4 is a grown-up album. 4 did not sell like I Am Sasha Fierce or like, Lemonade or whatnot. But 4, did decent. But 4 was an album about the music. She talked about, issues with child loss, even though she didn't tell us that at the time. But when you look at the timeline, a lot of that music was rooted in that, family departure, love. I mean, it was a very, such a great album because it was very mature and very in-depth. And she did have a little bit of fun in the album, but that was a very grown-ass album from Beyonce. And that album, oh my goodness, we're getting old, y'all. 4 is going to turn 10 years old this year. Where is the time going? 10 years? Damn! I was 19 then, y'all. Oh, that was summer 2011 was so much fun. Shout out to my friends who remember that time. Like, yes, like my friend, one of my best friends, Amanda Parks, she just turned 30. And we were just reflecting on those times. My goodness, we were not old enough to drink, but yet we were drinking. Anywho, summer 2011 was so much fun. It was a Philadelphia summer. It was an interesting summer. It was definitely a summer to remember. And I remember that album. We were definitely playing the album. And also Gaga's Born This Way. Oh my goodness. Gaga's Born This Way came out in 2011. Okay, I'm not trying to age everybody right now, but goodness, that was a bad. First of all, that era of music was either great or bad because Adele's 21 came out actually in January, I think. Oh my goodness, 10 years of 21. Damn. We're getting old. I swear 21 was like 5 years old, but now I feel like 25 is 5 years old, but 21 was, wow, 10 years. Okay, we're getting old. I'm aging us, but let me do one more thing that's going to age us, and then I'll get back to what I was going to say. Do you all remember that EDM era that was like god awful, but was still kind of fun? That was happening in 2011. Like that was all of that Katy Perry music, that FMLAO music, that Madonna was trying to get into that phase in 2012. Shout out to my bestie Jamarcus. You remember that we used to go out, and that was when the gay clubs were really gay clubs, and all the straight people didn't come and ruin it. But we used to go out, and that was the like a girl going wild, anyway, Girl Gone Wild by Madonna was fun. All those techno songs make them girls go wild, and groups that we don't even know anymore. I don't even know half of those groups' names anymore. But they used to have all of it. Pumped Up Kicks was a jam. It wasn't EDM, but it was an interesting jam. Kesha was like Kesha. New Kesha, okay. But like the old Kesha, before she was a Grammy-nominated artist, she was out. Oh my goodness. That was an era right there. That was an era. Like, okay, Icona Pop, I don't care. Jason Derulo, when Jason Derulo was saying his name in his songs. I think he's still saying his name in his songs. But anywho, that was a interesting era. That just took me all the way back. But that being said, this topic that you all wanted me to talk about, I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to give my perspective to it because I think people really, for whatever reason, want to hear what I have to say about it. I don't know how it's going to make people feel. It is what it is. Lori Harvey. Because everybody keeps asking what I think about this Lori Harvey situation. And I actually have some thoughts about it, actually. I will say that I didn't have thoughts about the Kardashians and Kanye because I'm so sick of hearing about them. But I do have some things to say with this Lori Harvey situation. And there's two ways I want to go about this because it's interesting. So, okay, Lori Harvey is like 23, 24. She's very young. Younger than me. I don't really know what Lori Harvey does. I know that she's the daughter of Steve Harvey, which is a trash bag man, but she clearly is beautiful. God damn beautiful. Like, anyone calling Lori Harvey ugly is just lying. Lori Harvey is a very attractive woman. She's a beautiful woman. Will not take that from her. Her family is a hot mess, but Lori Harvey looks like she doesn't have any stress. Oops, that rhymes. Beautiful woman. I don't know what she actually do. Is she a model, an influencer? I don't know. She might be those things. I just don't really know what Lori Harvey does. I haven't done any deep research because I was too busy, doing research about the insurrection and things that impact American history. But I will say that okay. I'm trying to say, because, listen, you are listening to this podcast. Can I just say this? This podcast has been staying on the charts, okay? You all are listening to this podcast, every minute of it, every word. You all are spreading it like wildfire. Like this podcast is getting hundreds and hundreds of actual listens and downloads on a weekly basis. And this is only episode 3. So you all are listening to this religiously, and I am grateful and thankful for your listenership. So let me make sure that I say the things I'm about to say right now, I say it in the right way, because y'all will cut up. I am not in the business of shaming Lori Harvey. Lori Harvey has a right to do what she wants to do with her body. I think that what's interesting is that people have so much to say about how many people she date. And we'll get into that slightly. But honestly, how many women have Future dated? Okay, how many? How many women have Future dated? I mean, good Lord, I can't keep count. Okay. How many women have some of your favorite rappers have dated or been connected to? I mean, everyone loves to talk about how many people Rihanna dated, but okay, are we going to look at ASAP? Are we going to look at some of these athletes, okay, you know, that are out here consistently rotating someone every damn time. I mean, how many of these men are consistent? For all the women that you criticize these men of dating, these women of being serial daters, they're dating men that also are serial daters too. And I'm gonna and pencil that and hold on to that point, because I just think that this double standard around talking about Lori Harvey in this dating way is quite annoying. And in the slut shaming too. And I'm gonna get into the double politics and standards. But like, first of all, so she has dated on record. She dated this one guy, Hamilton. I don't know who he is, some athlete, NASCAR driver. I don't know who the guy is. Somebody who's in some type of car business or some athletic business. She's dated publicly Future. She's dated Justin Combs, which is Sean Combs' son, and then turned around and allegedly dated Sean Combs, Puff Daddy, or P. Diddy, which got people raising their eyebrows because they're like, wait a minute, you're dating the father too? And then there was that long joke about she old enough to date the father and the son. Well, technically, she's old enough to be Sean Combs' daughter. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that goes. And I don't know if they were dating, but like there were photographs of them together. I don't know what the nature of the relationship was. It's been speculated that they had a relationship too. But Diddy is a serial dater. Diddy is always dating somebody. Like, child, again, you all let this man live, but everybody's on her. So then you have Future, which again, Future is Meek Mill apparently. She dated Meek Mill apparently. Good Lord. Meek Mill, oh my God, serial dater. Who has Meek Mill not dated at this point or been romantically connected with? But where's the slut shaming? And these men walk around with babies too. So they don't not just have girlfriends. They actually walk away with babies too. Like they're highly fertile. So you have this whole lineup of list of people that she's consistently have dated, and people love to shame her and say, oh my goodness, here she go again. But no one does this with the men. And so it, like, for me, you know, I'm black, I'm gay, you know, I'm queer, you know, I'm very much so, I look at a lot of things through a gendered lens. So I'm always like, when I see men that are serial daters, I think it's disgusting. I wouldn't say disgusting. I don't think it's disgusting on a sexual level. I think that it says a lot about a person emotionally. How do you commit to a person when you just got out of it? So I feel like when you're running consistently in a relationship, you're running from something. And that has nothing to do with money, class, wealth, or gender. I'm just someone that if I see a person that's consistently always jumping into a relationship with somebody, just jump in a relationship, either the relationship was not real or you're running from something. Like, I believe that when you have a breakup, you should have some time to yourself to reflect. Like, before Barry and I got together, which was 7 years ago will be 7 years in February, I had dated someone on and off prior, but I literally took like 6 months to just really do some work on myself. Like, really take some time to dig into like my patterns, like what's wrong with, like, not focusing on it. Like, let me be clear. I was dating someone who was a complete asshole and a jerk. We don't really talk. We're cordial. So maybe not say they're an asshole now. I guess we are cool now. But they were an asshole then. We're cordial. If I saw him, I could say hello to him and keep it moving. And honestly, I would say that, you know how you know you moved on from a person? When literally they can date. I don't know who he's dating. I don't know what he's doing now. But I can like hope. I can literally say I hope him well. I wish him well. And not miss him and not care. And that's when you know you've moved on from someone. So I was in a phase where even though I left this man, I was not completely over this man. Like, there was aspects of me that I had to reckon with and figure out what made that relationship the way it was and what caused things to be the way they were, and look at myself and where I was in my life and my insecurities and the stuff that was going on in my personal. I mean, I had to do some work on myself and take some time and talk to professionals and and not center it on the relationship, but center it on myself. I think sometimes people use relationships as the end all be all or the crutch or the clutch to why they are who they are. Relationships can have the impact on you, but even friendships can. I think Issa Rae was saying something and it just really struck with me this week. She talked about how friendship breakups can have an impact on just as much as romantic ones. And she is not lying. I feel like, honestly, relationships, that I've had, those breakups were not as painful or was not as difficult to navigate as friendship breakups I've had. Like I have, I want to say 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago around this time, I cut off two friends that I was friends with for quite some time. One of them I was friends with for 10 years. Another I was friends with for roughly 4 or 5 years. And, you just get to a point where you see people go in different ways. People grow up, people change, people's viewpoints change. How they show up for you isn't as equal to how you show up for them. Priorities change. Things just change. And sometimes when you find yourself holding on to a relationship based on seniority alone, that's always a wake-up call that you're not in the right place. And so I saw myself consistently being exhausted and tired and angry and frustrated in a relationship. And I'm talking about these particular friendships that I finally said, you know what? I gotta go. This can't just happen. And so I made the choice to cut ties. Like I just had to be like, yeah, I'm upset and I'm good. And I hope you do well. And that's it. And that was it. And I haven't had to make that decision now. And I will say that the people in my life now, I love, like I rock with, like these are like I don't envision or predict cutting anybody off at this point in my friend circle. I think everybody who's in my life right now have a purpose. And I have a purpose for them. And there's a mutual love and respect. I feel like I'm being valued. I feel like my time is valued. And I feel like I have something to put into them that they've put into me. And it's healthy and it's loving and it's fulfilling. And I always tell people, and I tell people this every day, yes, get a relationship. Yes, get you a boo if you want to do that. But always, 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 always invest in your friendships. Always. I don't care how great your relationship is. My relationship right now is fantabulous. It is fantastic. It is awesome. But at the same time, I want to be able to have healthy friendships. And I've been fortunate to still have that, right? Because a lot of people cut off their friends when they get in a relationship or something happens. And my mother, who just turned 50, she was telling me, just about in all of her life, no matter what was going on in any aspect of her life, she always had her friends. And I think it's important that people actually invest in having good friendships. And I love that about myself. And I talk about that in my sneak peek episode. So go back and watch it or listen to it. Listen to it. You can't watch it, but listen to it. So that being said, I always digress. But that being said, and bringing it to this, I've taken breaks. And that self-reflection and that those friendships kept me fortified so that by the time I met Mr. Johnson, I was in a place where I was open and willing and not placing the faults of my past or the issues I have with my ex, because that's what some people do. They come in like, well, what my ex, like I didn't do that. I didn't project on him. He came in and he was able to be a person and make his mistakes. And we both were able to make mistakes and learn from each other and just, be people and understand each other's hot spots and quirks and things like that, to get to know each other. I think sometimes the next person that comes in the door, you're putting them through the ringer based on all of the things the last person did. But you got to remember, this is a new person. This person is going to come with their own experiences, their own trials, tribulations. And you have to be willing to invest into getting to meet someone and get to know someone and trust someone again. That's not easy to do if you're still bringing in your own baggage. And so I believe in taking space when you have a breakup so that you can be able to rebuild yourself and recharge yourself for yourself. And maybe if you don't want to get with nobody, maybe you don't want to be with nobody, you may fuck it, I want to be single forever. That's cool too. But if you want to get back out there, maybe. My only concern with Lori Harvey and these relationships, because now she's with Michael B. Jordan, And Michael B. Jordan, like, was just dating that musician named Soul Algebra. And everybody talk about how he doesn't date black women. And clearly he's dating one of the most beautiful black women right now in Dana Rebs, right, I guess. You know, he just got a relationship and now he's getting with her. So I don't know if I'm more worried about Lori than I'm more worried about Michael B. Jordan. Like, yo, are you gonna be able to really appreciate this woman and really be with her for the right reasons? Because I get so annoyed with celebrity relationships that are built on aesthetics. Like, they look good together. I will not take that from them. Like, Michael B. Jordan is looking better than he's ever had in his entire life. I used to never really find, like, personally just like, Michael B. Jordan was never an ugly guy, but for whatever reason, I was just never like aroused. But he's looking good now. He's looking good. He's looking all right. He's getting a little better. I mean, maybe that's Lori rubbing off on him. I don't know. But he's looking cute. He's looking good. He's coming into his own. But but like I feel like he's no Jonathan Majors. Like, Jonathan Majors has appeal. He's the guy off. So if people don't know who Jonathan Majors is, he's the guy off of Lovecraft Country. Like Jonathan Majors off Lovecraft Country has like a sex appeal. Like, he has like this. Like, he's got what I call that working boy like energy, where he's not trying to be America's Next Top Model. Even though his GQ cover was nice, he's trying to be like, look, I could be that everyday dude, but at the same time with a good haircut and some cologne and just some rugged swag, I'm gonna be Mr. Take You Away. He has that ability. I find that more appealing and attractive than Michael B. Jordan. But Michael B. Jordan has come a long way. This is such a great podcast when queer men can weigh in on the guys and not just do a bunch of comparison of women all day. Progress. So anywho, I'm more worried about Lori in the sense that I don't know if Michael B. Jordan is coming to that. Is he going to come into a relationship as mature and ready? Because he just seems to be hopping in relationships too. Like, he's been romantically linked. He actually did an interview, I think, and was talking about how he is actually taking people up on offers in the DMs. Anywho, like I said, these men be out here cutting up too. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm wondering about that. And I'm also wondering with her, there's a lot of people that said, well, dating don't mean sleeping. Y'all better stop. Okay, so let me be clear. Yeah, dating does not mean sleeping with somebody. But even if she was sleeping, that's fine. If she was sleeping with any of those men before, if she did, that's and I just don't know. I feel like, look, she's a young, attractive woman. She is, she has money. She's living her best life. Let the girl live her best life. Now, that being said, though, there is these age gaps. Like, Future was over. Like, when Future was talking to her, I think she was like 22. He was like early, like 30s, 34, whatever. Sir, I don't know about that age gap. Like, it's like y'all was waiting for her to be able to be legal to drink, and then y'all just running up on. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but you gotta wonder, because let me tell you something. I'm 29. I will tell you all right now. I'm not even looking. I'm engaged, so I'm not like looking or cruising. But like, I don't see any of these like 21-year-old, 20-year-old dudes. Okay, technically they're legal. Like, they're legal. I mean, they're legal. That's not technically. They are legal. But like, child, I don't find that attractive. Like, I'm not finding that like, ooh, yes, I need that in my life. Now, what you call it? He's older now, but from Queen Sugar, Kofi, he is young. Like, he is younger than me. Like, he is like Kofi is from Queen. He's Ralph Angel on Queen Sugar, who was also in Girls Trip. That was Jada Pinkett's love interest, because she be loving the young bulls. Entanglements. But Kofi, listen, Kofi. Now, let me say, Kofi Cerebral, who is a Ghanaian American actor. Listen, he is 26 years old. He was born on March 2nd, 1994. Listen, okay, I see it. but he's also, he's a little bit older. See, that's who Lori Harvey should be dating. That's the same energy right there. I think Lori Harvey and Kofi should date. I don't like this Michael B. Jordan thing. Listen, if I was 34, there is nothing a 24-year-old woman could do for me. Or a 24-year-old man could do for me. At 34, no. No. Because there is some okay, let me say this. Ooh. Some of my best friends listen to the oopsie. Okay, not talking about myself. I'm thinking about somebody else I know. I would say that if this person was 50 and the person was 40 or 35, 45, early 30s, early 40s, yes. But I feel like when you push it to that 20s, there's just different life experiences that I just feel like makes it kind of weird. So like, I just don't understand. Like when Leo be dating these girls, like Leonardo DiCaprio, y'all never come for Leonardo DiCaprio and all them supermodels he date that's like half his damn age. Leonardo DiCaprio be cutting the fuck up and nobody be saying anything. I mean, some people say something, but a lot of people do not say anything about Leonardo DiCaprio, how he be cutting up. Nobody really getting these men's asses about this. Like Leonardo DiCaprio, let's get into it. Leonardo DiCaprio is 46 years old, but he be dating supermodels in their early 20s. And listen, that's legal and all, but listen, he goes through the girls too. Okay? But y'all don't ever come after him like y'all come for women. Okay? Y'all act like Taylor Swift dated the whole basketball team. And if she did, but like they'll come after her or they'll come after Rihanna. Oh, I used to hate when y'all used to do Rihanna. And Rihanna said, fuck y'all, I'm going to still do rappers, ball players, billionaires. She didn't give a fuck. Rihanna didn't care because Rihanna had already gave people, what they wanted. You know what I'm saying? She already did the celebrity relationship and that wasn't her speed, or it didn't turn out the way she wanted it to. But she's just living her best life. They say she's talking to A$AP Rocky now. Ugh, whatever. But like, I still love my faith. But that being said about Lori, I just feel like with her and Michael, I think this is going to be a trend. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see this lasting any past over a year. I don't see it. I think it's just something to get the people talking about, just like Bridgerton. It's just a moment, and it's cute for now. But I don't know. I don't think. I mean, like, listen. Okay, I'm not going to project, but I'm going to project. If I was 34 years old, because I'm just looking at myself at 29. I'm talking about myself at 29. At 29 years old, there is nothing a 19-year-old can tell me. There is nothing a 20 or 21-year-old could tell me right now. I would say to them, you're adorable. Now drink your milk and go to bed. Now let me stop being paternalistic. I would just be like, we're on two different playing fields. You're still in school. Finish your degree. Go live your best life. There's nothing that we can talk about. I'm in a different phase of my life. I'm looking for different things that person 9 times out of 10 will not be able to give me, or I'm going to have to challenge this person to open up. And I feel like when you have to make somebody, like when you get into a relationship with somebody, I think the goal is that you should be in a position where you like them for who they are and don't want them to necessarily have to change. Like you want them to change, but like they're supposed to evolve to the better. But they should be someone that, like, I'll tell you right now, with my fiance, if he did not change right now, I would love him and like him as he is. I know that he continues to evolve. Like the man I met when I first met him is still the same loving man, but he's definitely has matured and has evolved professionally and all these great things. Basically, he has gotten bigger and more mature in his thinking and endowments and paychecks and other things. And it's great because he's like wine. He's getting better with time. And I personally feel like he would also say, and I personally believe that over the years, the 7 years we've been together, I have evolved and I have grown as a person and I've gotten better with time. I mean, when he first met me, I was just getting right out of Penn. He also went to Penn too. I just got out of Penn, didn't know what the hell I was going to do with my career. 7 years later and some Forbes later and some podcasts later, here I am. But he was there before that. He was there when I had the $450 a month, studio apartment and I was freelancing rugged and wild. And I got screwed over. He was there for all of that. And he has evolved and we've grown together and it's beautiful and it's just everything. And I can't wait to say I do to this man. But that being said, there's an evolution, there's a growth. And I don't know if Lori can grow with Michael B. Jordan because she's going to go through some of her 20s. And this man is in his mid 40s. So, I mean, 30s. He's in his mid 30s. So there's a difference between both of them. And I think I want her to live her best life. And like, I don't know. I think he's going in a different way. And I just hate this narrative, which is, I'm not saying this happened with their relationship where older man gets tired of the player game, ready to retire his card, but takes woman who's about to enter her ultimate player's game mode off the market so he can be able to, rob her of her virginity or her fragility and basically, gets the claim stake. I've seen too many stories like that where then once the man has done the fucking around, now he wants to find not a woman of his stature because Lord forbids men date women their age at that age. But like the fuck shit is real. And so I don't know. I just don't want Lori to be, I want her to be in power and I don't want her to feel like she has to be a concubine or a toy to a lot of these men in power. And I just want her to delve into whatever her talents are and what she is and be known more for her work and what she does. Because I don't really know what Lori Harvey does. No shade. I don't know what she does. But I want to be able to know what she does, right? Because everyone's not actually talking about what she does. They just, Steve Harvey's daughter, so-and-so's ex. I want her to be in a space where we are talking more about her craft and her work. Because that's what I say about Rihanna. Rihanna got her little boyfriend and stuff, but Rihanna is out here entrepreneur, making her bread, doing her thing. And I just want that to be the same for Lori. So hopefully with this Michael B. Jordan relationship, it could be a learning opportunity. It could be something that maybe can blossom to something. But I don't predict it's going to last as long as some people may think. So my last thoughts, because this has been a podcast. MLK Day is coming up. Black people, it is not our day of service. If you don't want to do community service and you want to stay the hell in. Okay? Our ancestors have already done that service, that labor, that work that so many other people have taken for granted over the years. I am not about to sit up here and let us feel like we got to go out there and bust our asses to perform for white people on this day. They made MLK Day a day of service. MLK did not make it a day of service. So Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., okay, he had a dream, he had a vision, and I need these Republicans to keep his name out their mouth, okay, especially talk about nonviolence, because let's be clear, a lot of y'all sat up here and y'all letting the violence ensue currently in the country. So don't even say his name. Don't even say his name. Keep his name out your mouth. Please do. It's not worth it. It ain't it's not worth it. Don't do it. So Black folks, if you don't want to do service on MLK Day, do not feel guilty. Take that nap. Take that breather. We deserve it, because this inauguration is coming up on Wednesday and it's about to wear us out. I am chilling at home. I am eating. I'm going to be well rested. I'm relaxing. I'm telling my editors, don't call me for shit. It is MLK Day. It is my day of rest. It is your day of service. It is my day of rest. Okay? Understand that. And last but not least, I want to say two more things. Rick Snyder has been charged for 2 misdemeanors connected to Flint. Now, Rick Snyder was the ex-governor of Michigan, and he and some of his associates have now been charged for a crime regarding their behavior for neglect during the Flint, Michigan water crisis that impacted a lot of Black residents. It was terrible. It was disgusting. It still needs to be there still needs to be justice in Flint for that. And I am happy to see that there is some levels of criminal justice happening in that regard, because that should have been happened. But, we must always sometimes wait. But I want to dedicate this podcast and a moment of reflection for someone I've looked up to in this industry as a mentor. They recently passed away from a heart attack. They were 55 years old. They had 2 children, a loving partner who is an attorney. She's brilliant. She's a great woman. And my sincerest thoughts and prayers goes out to the family of Brian Monroe, who is a titan. I cannot explain like Brian Monroe. To those who's listening, my fellow Black journalists, you all know Brian Monroe very well. He is a former president of the National Association of Black Journalists. He has been a member of the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists. He was, up until his death, was a distinguished professor at the Klein School of Communication and Journalism at Temple University in Philadelphia. So he definitely spent a great deal of time in Philadelphia. And over the years, as I continue to grow in my career, he has always been a mentor and someone who would just give me advice about the industry. What I really appreciate the most about Brian was that 55 is such a young age. But what he's done in his career, like he was one of the first to interview President Barack Obama. He was the editor of Ebony and Jet, two Black magazines, two Black publications that have not been the same since him. Let me just be clear about that. He gave the last interview with Michael Jackson before he passed. And he will never let you not know that he did those two interviews because they are boss ass moves that like only Brian Monroe could have accomplished. He was a fierce advocate, like a genius, a visionary. He was one of the first editors for CNNpolitics.com, which was basically the political digital channel for CNN. He gave a lot of freelancers their first big breaks. I saw Kelly Carter talk about how she got one of her biggest breaks from him for a glossy magazine story that she did. And that was like the first time she ever had a glossy magazine gig and story, and that he gave that to her. There was countless other young journalists that went to Temple, that was a part of the Temple Association of Black Journalists, that spoke of memories with Brian. My stories of Brian have been, in just reflecting, remembering him, is just that every time I would take a shot and run for leadership in the journalism associations that I'm a part of, when I would lose, because I haven't always won, he would always remind me to get back up and keep going. He was always someone who was on my ass. He'll see something that I would write or something on my status that was, a number was off, or so he would get in my DMs and he would say, hey, fix that or something. And he always leaned on me, for advice on things. Even when he was teaching at Klein, he used to have me come to his class and be one of the judges for his pitch competitions and journalism pitch competitions. And he just was a very a man of service to the end. I mean, this man was something for everybody. And I loved Brian's career because Brian proved, several things. One is that he was very much so engaged in print journalism, which I am a big fan of, right? He also was invested in leadership in journalism, and specifically with Black institutions. He's also an alpha. He's also, part of other national organizations, the National Press Club. He's the man who was very invested in the free press and journalism advocacy. Like, he was a foot soldier defending Black journalists. Okay, he was on the ground. And he was a leader, and he never stopped giving. But what's also interesting about him was that he also was in academia. He was also someone who wanted to push and teach and educate the future. He was very invested in that. And then the other thing on top of that, was that he never stopped investing in mentoring young Black professionals and journalists. No matter how high Brian has achieved in his career, he was always invested and giving back to young people. And that is something I learned from him and so many other people, but from him specifically, was that it doesn't matter how poppin' you are, how many followers you got, how poppin' you are, how many awards you win. You're never too high to not go back and give back. And I love that about him, because when I was coming up in the business, someone like Brian, I was like, he's never going to respond to my call, my email, my message. He's going to be too busy for me, because in this business, you do get those people who get busy on you or too preoccupied. And listen, people can be busy and people are entitled to that. But Brian, he made time. He made time for a lot of people who had doors shoved down their faces. And that motivates me even more in his legacy to never get Hollywood to young Black people trying to climb that ladder industry. Someone just got in my DMs today, a young woman who was talking about freelance and things. And I was in the middle of doing something. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm busy. But I was like, you know what? Let me take that 5 minutes. And I answered her question about freelancing and things. And she was very appreciative of it. But like, we have to do more of that in general. Whoever you are, whatever kind of work you do, we have to do more of that giving back and pouring back into the people, into our community, because that's how we continue to remain the same and grow. And that's how we continue to do this great work. And so, I dedicate this episode to him because, again, he was also a political man. He was in love with politics. I mean, the work he did at CNN Politics was phenomenal. And so we're losing a Black political journalism crusader. Like, he was all of that, and he's going to be deeply missed. And I'm definitely been taking some time to reflect on his legacy, and I wanted more people to know who Brian Monroe is. And if you don't know who he is, look him up, check him out. You've probably seen things on my Twitter account about it, but like, check this man out and look up his legacy and read his incredible work, because those interviews he did still to this day are some of the best, most incredible pieces of journalism, finest work of journalism that we have. So I dedicate this episode to him. And thank you all so much for listening. Next week is going to be nuts. We have an inauguration. And, like I said, where the impeachment resides, where the impeachment resides. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.